Welcome to the Project Iron Boomerang Podcast. I'm your host, Marie Ferguson, and in this series, we're diving deep into the world of steelmaking, not just as an industry, but as a driving force behind economies, innovation, and a sustainable future. In episode 2, Forging a Nation, I'm joined by two visionary leaders, Shane Condon, founder and CEO of Project Iron Boomerang, whose bold vision for a transcontinental steel superhighway is set to redefine Australia's industrial and economic landscape, and the Honourable Roger Steele OAM, Order of Australia Medal, former Northern Territory Minister, and currently the Regional Director for the NT with Project Iron Boomerang. Roger brings decades of experience in regional development, resource policy, and political leadership to the table. Together, we explore how Project Iron Boomerang isn't just about steel, it's about sovereign capability, job creation, regional renewal, and positioning Australia as a global leader in industrial transformation. This podcast is for industry leaders, decision makers, and everyday Australians, bringing you the stories behind the steel. Let's dive in. Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Project Iron Boomerang Podcast, and we're here with special guests Roger Steele and Shane Condon, founder of PIB, Project Iron Boomerang. Now, Roger, you've flown all the way from the Northern Territory to be here. I would love to hear a little bit more about who you are, your background, and why you're here.
Well, I must say that I could thank the Northern Territory Police. They had a lot to do with my upbringing, and they made sure that I went out as a young person and worked on a cattle station. And that was the best place for a young person to go. It gave you the wide open spaces, the work with the Aborigines, work with cattle work, and become a better person by being out in the outback. So that's where I started. And I didn't have any schooling out there. I left school 6 weeks after I turned 13. I was out on the cattle stations. So
That's right.
I've had to do my own education since that time, and I learned how to fly. I did courses, and here I am today, supporting Project Iron Boomerang.
And I must say, Roger's bio, though, as Speaker of the House of the Legislative Assembly, Minister for Transport in three governments. So, I mean, he achieved that. He came up the hard way. And those hard lessons are great. I'm so proud to have Roger as the Regional Director of Project Iron Boomerang, representing us. We're so lucky to have him.
And what a wealth of experience you have, created in your life that you shared in multitude of ways. So what drew you, Roger, to Project Iron Boomerang?
Well, it was pretty easy, really. The Northern Territory is a very isolated and outback place, and 30 to 40% Aboriginal people living on communities, about 70-odd communities in the Northern Territory. And it seemed to me that we needed a little bit more. As you will appreciate, that most things that happen in a world like Australia is government supported. And people really haven't got that same feeling of project in their mind. And you need projects from the private sector to get the economy and the jobs that are available to young Territorians and to stabilise your population, to make your economy better, to be able to provide population increase, which goes towards being funded through GST by the Commonwealth. And I think I appreciated immediately that the very thought that a project of that immensity, of that size, of that capability was going to be very, very important, not only for the Northern Territory, but for Australia. So I was drawn to that concept by Shane Condon, the CEO and founder of this company, and I believe that that's what we should be doing. We should get this project and get going with it.
Amazing. And Shane, you said you've known Roger for a very long time. What was it about Roger that really connected you to bringing him into this project?
Well, because of what we just discussed, that background. He came up the hard way. He proved himself, and he had an incredible record. He's called the Honourable, and he has a honour award from the federal government. But like a lot of people, they don't use it all the time, but he's earned it. And the Territory is a vast outback area. And recently, the Northern Territory was voted by the International Geologists Group or Association, I don't know the name, as the greatest, best prospect area in the world for new resources. The world needs resources. We drive cars, we build buildings, it's minerals and exports. In the WA, I think we have an equal prospect. So if we build a continental railway line to connect with the world's biggest iron ore mine province in the Pilbara, and it's an old idea by Lang Hancock and Bjelke Petersen. It was a simple idea then, and we've extended it and developed it to a prospect where it can easily go ahead. And it makes economic common sense, not just for Australia, and improving its economy by up to 40% in phase one, 44 million tonne of first stage steel production next to the mines, the iron ore and metallurgical coal mines in Queensland and WA. We reduced the freight by 3 times, and by making steel, we don't have to freight the ore. And then we eliminate the empty ship and train returns. 9,000 K to Japan, South Korea, Delhi and China. That's 85% of the iron ore and met coal. Australia would be third world without it. So Roger is anchoring all of that for us. Couldn't have a better person with his knowledge and experience and ability. We're old mates from years ago. We first met in the late 1960s. And we were developing Northern Meat Exporters, which was the biggest project in North Australia, Roger, at the time, by the federal government at the time, to develop the North. Though we all knew we had to develop the North. It's still not developed properly. So we both have a cause going back to 1960. We're getting too old and we need to delegate you younger, brighter, future Australians to see something like this, and to its contribution to the Australian economy will be the best since Federation in 120 years. And I think that's why you are joined out here now, conducting this interview. I just thought I'd speak about that connection, which is a wonderful connection, actually. Understanding the Aboriginal and the Northern Territory. The problem is people in the cities don't understand it. They want to, but they don't have the time. You have to live it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think it's bridging the gap by having conversations like this and seeing how we can merge the world and educate and share and empower others to go, well, we can make a change. That links beautifully to my next question of how do you see Project Iron Boomerang transforming industries for the next generation of families, hardworking Australians, manufacturing, mining? What impact does it have for Northern Territory, the people in general, for their future?
Well, it's up to us, isn't it, really, to get this show on the road. That's, first of all, we have to get the approvals. We have to work with governments. We have to work with investors. And we would look forward to participation from the most important people to get us on that stairway. And it's a stairway of getting towards greater population, better economy, more jobs for the locals, more infrastructure, and more money for local landowners. You have to consider that the Northern Territory is 55% owned by Aborigines, and we have to work with them and give them part of what we do. When we set up in the Central Australian concept, they will be involved. They will be part of what we do. They will be shareholders. They will be service providers. They will get income from their own assets, their land. They will build sheds that we will rent off them. There will be all sorts of aspects and dynamics that we haven't yet dealt with, but we will be dealing with that, and the Northern Territory will be a rich place to go to. It will be a hallmark in the world of trains and minerals, and there'll be 50 new mines under the corridor of the railway line. 50 new mines that at the moment is uneconomical, not a hope of getting there to exploit. Now, we've got the big gas field up there, the Beetaloo. That gas will go across from where it is onto our central line, which goes from Alice Springs or Central Australia to Darwin. We've been on gas for 20 or 30 years in Darwin, and a lot of people have been living on coal. We don't have coal, but we've been having gas, and gas is going to provide and power our locomotives. So the locomotives will go to Central Australia, to a central point, and there we will exchange gas tanks on the locomotives, and that will take the ore across to the Pilbara, take the coal over to the Pilbara, and then it'll bring the coal, then it'll bring the iron ore back over to the Bowen Basin in Queensland, where the steel mills are, and that's where we'll generate our 5 steel mills in the east and 5 steel mills in the west. And it will be a bonanza time. It'll be world rated. Our neighbours to the north will benefit. You won't have people coming in to Indonesia, but they will know about our steel mills, our rolling mills that will be placed in Malaysia, Indonesia, New Guinea,
Everywhere.
everywhere that is
Asian
required.
century.
Okay, it's market related. You've got to have an economy that will handle all this. And you can imagine the population growth and the
Prosperity.
the emphasis on the Northern Territory. They'll drive down the Stewart Highway, they'll go down to Alice Springs, and guess what they'll see? They'll see Shane Condon's LNG plant over there near the town of Tea Tree. And then they'll see all these big sheds. What's in those big sheds? Oh, it's related to Project Iron Boomerang.
Rail maintenance.
Yeah, it'll be all that.
3,000 k a row.
And there could be thousands of acres that are set up for this particular purpose. And the locals will be employed there. We will have so much benefits.
Not fly in, fly out.
None of that fly.
Permanent, beautiful homes, not temporary homes. They'll be permanent. They'll be outstanding.
I can really feel your passion and the vision that you're both sharing. This has taken years, decades to get to this stage right now in all the planning and all of the work that you have, founded.
Well, a lot of Australians don't. This will go international, and people. This is as important, probably 90% more important. But we've probed and tested this with the world's biggest steel plant builders, 4 in Europe, which then, we had 2-day workshop. One day at Siemens VAI in Linz, Austria, was 11 hours. The first day we had lunch in the meeting room. These are the biggest steel plant builders in the world. And we put this totally new idea of consolidating 22 million tonne of first stage steel in one steel complex. And nobody's ever done that in the world before. So, we didn't need approval from Australia. We needed approval from the world and the experts in their field. And then we went to the world's biggest shipbuilders in Korea, Japan. But we also went to China, biggest shipbuilder, who was building Nick Mung, who was he's got 3 degrees, from one of them from UQ, MBA. Nick Mung said, "Do you want to see these guys? They're building the China aircraft carrier." I said, "Of course I do," because they're the most sophisticated shipbuilder in China. And we need 50 ships for phase 1. Phase 1, 50 ships, 44 million tonne of steel. Australia doesn't have one ship that size, 100,000 tonne capacity. We're a continent. We should be leading the world in shipping. We don't even have a ship now. And I used to export my prawns on A&L, and they're gone. I was exporting my export prawns to all over the world, and beef, buffalo and things like that, meat. and they're all gone. It's a disgrace. So these ships, they're my design and patent. They're payload each way ships. Our container ships come back 83% empty. Our ore ships come back empty. 9,000 K from Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, Dalian, China, 80%. We ship 80% of the world's iron ore seaborne to make steel. We ship, it's actually higher, 85, 90% of the world's metallurgical coal seaborne. That is really a problem for the world, that it's so dominant on one country, so reliant on one country to make steel, which is essential in any economy. The British Parliament had a special sitting on a Saturday to save their last blast furnace steel plant, British Steel, owned by China. They're closing it down because it's inefficient. Their energy costs are too high. So this is the world's fifth economy. They can't exist without steel. No economy up to 30, G30, can exist without steel. It's like oxygen to us and carbon for plants that makes oxygen. No economy can exist without steel and its secondary products. So we're all concerned about our politics at the moment. This is a solution for all of those things. Just one purpose: eloquent, simple, practical. It's not debatable. We have to make steel next to the mine. It consolidates the steel making, both in the logistics and supply chain, but also in making steel next to the mine by 3 times. It's actually 4.5 times. That is tens and tens of net profit billions per annum denied on making 44 million tonne of steel by the world. This is ridiculous. Everyone's house in the world will be cheaper. Cars will be cheaper. Furniture will be cheaper. Solar farms will be cheaper.
It's a no-brainer. We've said it before. And I suppose getting to this point, Roger, you've been invested in this project right from the beginning. And what have you seen as some of the biggest lessons and revelations from those foundational starting points to where we are now? We're so close to getting that first stage up and running. So what have been some of those lessons that you've seen in that time frame?
Well, I have a very biased view on this. I must say that I think that we haven't really done our job because of various limitations. We haven't got enough education as to the benefits that Shane is speaking about, and also some of the needs to have new and better technology, especially...
If I can interrupt, this is what these podcasts are all about.
Yeah.
To go national and international.
I mean, we have to be able to say to people, Whyalla has collapsed. It's been invested in an old rust bucket of a steel mill, and it needs to have a new rolling mill, as Shane would tell us. And we can do that. We can help that. But at the moment, Whyalla should have a purpose that helps us. We've got the railway line from Adelaide up to Central Australia, to where the train will eventually cross the Stuart Highway and go east and west.
Adelaide to Darwin. Yeah,
the Adelaide to Darwin. We've got the gas pipe coming up from Central Australia, going from Central Australia to Darwin, as I mentioned earlier. So we've got the ingredients. We could bring the case-hardened railway line from, part of it anyway, from Whyalla, if that was running properly. But it's an old, broken-down steel mill which is costing the taxpayer millions and millions of dollars just to rehabilitate and to stay in the town, keep the town rolling. So we've got things like that to consider. We've got to consider that iron ore, when it leaves Australia, is 40% dirt. You've got to remember that we can do better with what we're doing. We've got to compete with the other steel makers around the world to a certain degree. We have to remember that China is probably the biggest world marketer of steel that we have, and
It's 54%.
54%, and we're bound to understand the way this is happening. And we could do better. We could produce 8 to 10% of the world's steel in Australia. Why are we doing that?
Well, doing it the Project Iron Boomerang model way, and China has agreed with this when we've met with the steel mills in China and in Japan, Korea, and in Taiwan, other places around the world, other big steel mills, top 10, top 20. We are 20% under China's benchmark steel price. China has said, you're the only one who can. This is in the boardroom of China. I won't mention the company, but I can. I have evidence of that from our visit reports. China said, you'll be the only one who can compete with China, producing 54% of the world's steel. And you'll be 20%. Well, they didn't say this. They agreed with our figures after the pre-feasibility study. They said, and they taught us how to analyse themselves, the steel mills of the world. They taught us, not Australia. They did. And they said, you'll be the only one who can beat China. We'll be 20% under the China benchmark price. And that's sustainable for the next 50 years. And that's the only way you can plan. The biggest industry in the world is the world steel business. And it's headlines now with Donald Trump. It's headlines with British Steel. France has failed. Spain has failed. Italy, they've all failed. Germany's failed. Worse than the lot. I can't believe it. None of us can believe it, particularly Rogers and my age, but anyway. So the...
Well, the paper's gone. I can't confess to anything.
But all of this thinking, this planning, this future proofing of not only Australia, but for the world, this is about legacy.
It is. Well, and the future.
And the future. So
yeah, it's not legacy. Legacy is the part. This is also, it's everybody's, including Australia's, national steel plan and solution. It's primary school logic. It's not a debate in high school or university. The figures are 2 and 2 is 4. It is not a debate. There are some things that are still being debated and improved. And the innovation that we provide a supply chain, a Belt and Road, far better than anything China. I'm very proud to say this to my Chinese friends. It's far better than anything they've got. Purpose-designed ships, trains, factories, ports, all fully integrated and purpose-designed. Now, people have done that in bits and pieces, but not like the whole equation. So we can have industrial parks, precincts around the first precinct, which is the steel complex, precinct 2 and 3. The power will be from coke oven gas. That's baseload power. That'll be the cheapest in the world. There's no grid. Grid is 40 to 60%. People will come from China to run a casting shed in precinct 3. It's called precinct economics. They will come from China because we'll be more competitive and they'll be sending it back home and they'll get a better price for it and their economy will be stronger for it. So each time we build phase 1, there are 5, it could be 7 phases. So phase 1 is equal to 40% of Australia's GDP economy. IMF figures year 21, this recent time. New South Wales is 38% as the biggest GDP economy. This is what Australia can do, Iron Boomerang can do for Australia, but it does that equally for the world. The people that build, own and operate their own steel mill in Australia. Australia is so lucky to host them, needs to be generous with that, to host them in this facility, and everyone will be more prosperous. Prosperity kills war. People don't go to war when they're prosperous. history has taught us that. I've got to stop the sermonising.
Well, it's very exciting, and this is why we're here to talk about the vision of the future, to hear your wisdom, and to help educate and empower others to get invested in this project. And so, Roger, this notion of legacy, what do you hope that Project Iron Boomerang, I suppose, will be remembered by future generations?
I think, like all generations, they'll probably take it for granted once we get it up and running. And I think that's probably the achievement itself. I mean, I guess Australians go around and say, look at the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Look at the Snowy Mountain Ski. Look at the railway lines in Western Australia that they cart the iron ore. They will accept it. You know what people are like. They're going to say, so what? But we'd have done it. That's the main thing. We've done it for our children, our grandchildren, and for this country. That's what we're working for. Thank you.
Well, that's why we're here now, talking to you younger. You're the future.
Yeah.
We need to delegate to you. And we're both concerned about that as elders, which I never thought of myself as an elder, but there you go.
You're a semi-elder.
No. So that's why we're here. That's why we're all here, including you.
Yeah, that's right.
Including you guys. And we can refine these talks, but we're being very open and very honest in this, and we always must be. Iron Boomerang, we don't have anything to hide. It's all on the table. And the benefit is outstanding for everyone. And that's what motivates me. I've got 8 grandkids. I often say this, I've got to learn phrases to get the message across in China, Japan, Korea, Europe, wherever I am, in Wall Street, which I've been to many times, to sell the message. It's like a religion almost. And it should be. It should be, So that's why we're here. And we need to delegate to people of your age group. And you need to take up the cross. It's not a burden. It's a wonderful gut feeling. It's what we need to do. There's a lot of history in human. We need to get this going. People will follow and learn. Let the model be duplicated. But Australia's just a lucky country with these 2 ores. Go to number 2 with met coal and iron ore. There's none. There's no one else. There's no number 2. So we have a responsibility to the world to actually do this. We'd be delinquent if we don't. That's the way I see it. And we've got to get that message across to all Australians. And I think most people will respond to passion and belief, right? And leadership. Is that right, Roger? Yeah.
Yeah. You got me.
We have. We've got all of you, I hope.
You got me. Yeah.
It's like you've heard it here, you've heard the call to action. Up to us to take initiative, to listen to the wisdom and expertise of the people that have come before us. And let's just get excited. Let's innovate. Let's share this knowledge. And I hope to see you on our next podcast interview. Share your comments, share this podcast, and look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.
Thank you.